Hey everyone, welcome back to the Gray Matters podcast. I'm your host, Josh Perry, and I have a ton to catch up with you guys on after a 6-month hiatus. I'm officially 8 months post-awake brain surgery. So we're going to talk about that, and we got a lot more to talk about. A lot has happened in the last 8 or 9 months, and so first, here's the lovely Jackie Lauricella, soon to be Lauricella Perry, come 9.5 months or so from now when we get married. So here she is in our intro, and thanks to the beat produced by my Cape Cod brother from another mother, Roland. So here it is.
Welcome to the Gray Matters podcast.
All right, so first things first, again, I'm 8 months out of awake brain surgery and I'm fully recovered and I feel fantastic. So thank you to Dr. Q at Mayo Clinic for those magical hands Dr. Q has, and to be able to participate in my surgery thanks to technology and just such advancements of the human race. It's just phenomenal to have had that experience. And so I've recorded some previous episodes about that. And the first thing I want to mention is just, briefly, it was such a mind-blowing, it was like a dream, but I was conscious and really living that dream. So it wasn't really a dream, but it felt like a dream state where you have such a dream that feels so real that it's like you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm either glad that it's a dream or like, oh man, like that felt so real, but it's just a dream. This is one of those moments where it was like a dream state, but it was actually happening. And so the way I word or describe going through awake brain surgery for me personally was I was excited. And people get confused when I say that, but Jackie reminded me I had 12 years of, or 11 or so years of mentally preparing for this opportunity to be able to say, I'm excited. And first and foremost, I recognize that I was afraid. I mean, there's no hiding that. There's no reason to hide that. I'm a human being, and it's a scary thing to go through with any surgery, let alone brain surgery, and on top of that, being awake. So, of course, those thoughts come in, and I feel those emotions in my body, the feelings, which are the body's language, corresponding to those thoughts. So what was critical for me and what I've been learning since the first surgery back in 2010 when I was 21 was to shift the focus of the shift the focus of the thoughts and the feelings, but more importantly, reframing them. So rather than having anxiety and fear for the opportunity or the experience, as I label as an opportunity, I recognize that the same emotion, the same level of energy could be, instead of anxiety, could be excitement, which I see them hand in hand. It's just out of the frame that we see it through. So I looked at it as an opportunity to be excited. And there's two main reasons. Number one, I was excited because here was an opportunity that I would be awake, which is a crazy experience as a human being that not many people will ever have to go through that experience, or even if they wanted to, it's very unlikely that you would be able to perform such a surgery electively to be awake. So I saw it as an opportunity to go through a human experience that not many will ever have the opportunity to go through. And I chose the emotional state and the frame that I saw this experience through to feel it as excitement. Excitement to be sharing or going through this human experience that, like, again, not many people are going to go through, and to be able to share with other people what that was like on the other end. And I was preparing myself, not knowingly, for 11 years to be in this mindset to truthfully say I was excited, which 11 years prior to the surgery in 2010, there was a chance I'd be awake, and I was terrified. I was not mentally prepared. There was this fear of like all these things going through my mind. And so 11 years built up with my real passion to experience alternative states of consciousness as a human being, with many different forms like meditation, float tanks, and, psychedelics, and just, trying to get to the root of my unconscious mind and my conscious mind, the traumas that are in there, the limiting beliefs, like all that stuff. And so here was an opportunity to go through a level of consciousness that I was awake for surgery, and to be able to participate in it, I thought it was really interesting and exciting. And that's the mindset I chose. And I recognized anytime that my mindset went back to being afraid or anxious or worried, and it was just like, hey, at the end of the day, this is what I got to do. This is my option to stay alive. I can keep suffering, having seizures, and potentially not wake up one day, or I can go through this opportunity, which many other people have gone through before me and are doing well today. And so on that note, there's a Netflix series, 4 parts, called The Surgeon's Cut. And my surgeon, Dr. Q, Dr. Quinones out of Mayo Clinic, was featured in the second episode, The Sacred Brain, where actually they tell you his phenomenal story. And they bring you through an experience with a patient going through awake brain surgery. And so you get to see all the ins and the outs of it, literally the ins and the outs. And you get to see someone go through it, which helped me build that faith that I would be okay, which I've talked about several times in the past of the original surgery. Now, the second point that I want to make about being excited for this opportunity as I saw it as an opportunity to let people in to my personal life, even more so to let people know, like, the theory that I share, the thoughts that I share, the education, all these different pieces. It's more than theory to me. It's theory that's very applicable in my life, and I would argue for anyone listening, their life as well. But here is an opportunity for me to let people in to see how real it is as a second surgery, and how real that I take this stuff. It's not me just talking the talk. I didn't just learn something in the book and share it, which is, there's no right or wrong to that. But here's an opportunity for me to let people know how real my message is that I share, my truth that I share. The theory has experience and application that I walk every day, whether people are aware of it or not. So I saw this as an opportunity to show how real my words are to me and how helpful they've been in my life. And here's an example that I'm going to bring people through and show them. So if you haven't seen any of my YouTube videos or the previous podcasts we've done leading into surgery, my thoughts, all that stuff, and then post-surgery, even leading into the moments right before surgery where I'm like poking myself in the eye because I can't feel my face from the injections to numb my entire head. And it was a funny moment, me sending videos to Jackie. Yeah, those are the two opportunities I saw it. And I just think it's a testament to my mindset that I developed from BMX conditioning, my family and the work ethic conditioning, and then going through the first surgery and diagnosis, the radiation and the second diagnosis, the third diagnosis, and then here we go, a fourth diagnosis and seizures to add to it and all that. So yeah, it was just cool. And I'm really grateful to have met Dr. Q 4 years prior to that. And again, I'm going to stop it there because there's plenty of content I've created in the past, and I'll do my best to link them below or wherever you're viewing this or listening to this. But the next thing I wanted to mention was Jackie and I closed on our home here in Florida about a month ago. And it's really cool because how it came to be was we recognized a couple years ago we wanted to move to Florida. We wanted to be closer to family. I'm now 2 years and 4 months off my bike at any capacity, let alone competing and all that good stuff. That's been years. But we realized, why are we in North Carolina besides some of our close friends and, the job that Jackie had as an athletic trainer? But we realized, at this moment in our lives, we want to be closer to family. And her and I chose not to go up north to New England because of the winters and not want to do that. But, she's from Florida where we are today. And so we decided to move here because we want to be closer to family. Gives my family up north a reason to escape the winter. And also, Jackie wanted to start a photography business, and her mom already does that full time. And so they created a joint venture together, and it's been really cool to see her progression with that. And then also her being able to combine her passion for athletic training and sports medicine, but doing so more so on like a freelance contract basis for different events, which she, combines the two of them: passion for photography, passion for athletic training, and medical or sports medical services. So it's really cool to see that. And I guess the next point goes without saying, I'm fully recovered. I haven't had a seizure since the 2 days prior to surgery, which is the last seizure I had. There's a lot of I guess you could label it as like PTSD moments where certain sensations with speech or thoughts or just feelings in my body trigger the thought that, oh, maybe this is a seizure. And then I feel that with getting afraid of having a seizure. And so again, there's been many forms of content I've shared in the past, but just to simply scratch the surface, when I was having the seizures, I was very coherent and conscious to them. And it would start with like a stutter and like a repetition of 2 words just over and over and over again, to where certain parts of my vocal cords and in my throat, I have, like when I'm speaking in certain manners and I become aware of it, it brings me back to those moments. And I would get caught in these loops, and then my body would just take over. And as much as I knew what was happening, I had no control, literally had no control. And then my body would start moving to the left, and the last seizure I had, I was just spinning around in circles and uncontrollably, but aware of it and just trying to tell myself to stop. So there is moments where I feel these sensations in my vocal cords in my throat, or like these thoughts, and like my mind will race really quick, which is the ADHD brain, and just so many different elements to where I have these PTSD like experiences where I'm like, oh shit, is this about to be another seizure? So I'm really grateful to have had those experiences as well, because now it's like another layer of depth, I would say, of me understanding what people talk about going through those seizures and really experiencing a moment where you're fully coherent but so out of control. So I'm happy to report that I haven't had a seizure since 2 days prior to the surgery. I've been fully recovered for about 4 months or so, which leads me to my next point of, I've been back lifting heavy, I'd say 3 or 4 months, like almost back to where I left off before surgery. Been golfing a ton. I had to fill that physical void of love or the void of physical love of activity and competition with myself and progression. So golfing has been the most challenging thing mentally and physically and spiritually and energetically, even more so than BMX, I'd say. And so I've been loving it. I've been shooting in the 80s and 90s. I've been moving back tee boxes and just, becoming a student of the game, learning a little bit about the history and, what's going on now. But more importantly, it's just something that I can put my energy into and progress, which, as you've heard me talk about before, it teaches us so many valuable things in life. So I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm 2 years, 4 months off of riding my BMX bike in any capacity. I'm going to do a separate piece of content on why that's so. But in short, it started out as an experiment after I talked to my good friend Jimmy Ferris, who's been on the podcast several times. I actually have an episode to put out with him that I haven't put out yet. But it started at an event we were both at in January of 2020, right after my last time on my bike. And I asked him a question. I was like, hey, man, since you retired from the NFL in 10 years, have you played any football? Like, touch football, flag football, just pick up games, anything like that? And he's like, no, I mean, I've thrown the ball a couple times, like that, but nothing like competition of any kind. And I was like, man, that makes so much sense. Like, I'm back and forth. I'm dipping into my past and I'm trying to progress in the future. But I feel this imposter syndrome and this gap internally progressing with who I believe I am based on how I identify with what I did in the past and what I'm trying to do moving forward, even though I feel called to do it in the perception of other people, externally. So that moment when he said no, I was like, that's it. I need to stop riding my bike. I need to just take some time off. I have no obligations, no responsibilities. It's not a career for me anymore. I literally just rode and trained at the same elite level and progressed because I loved it. But it came to a point where I needed to remove it. So it was an experiment of some time just to see who I was beneath the surface without that BMX attachment to my name. 2-3 months later, the pandemic occurred, and then a year after that, I started having seizures and was told I had a 5th brain tumor. I already knew I was living for 6-7 years at that point with 2 on each side tumors in my brain. But a 5th, little like a golf ball size tumor, had popped up and grown unknowingly over the year or so in my frontal lobe just to the left, which made sense to why I was having seizures, and then why they needed me to be awake to test the right side of my body because the tumor is on the left side of my brain, and so on and so forth. So it started out as an experiment, and then it became this intuitive signal that I was listening to, not really knowing. I just had the sense of started with the experiment, and then it just led into this, I would say, life-saving and quality of life-saving decision, because had I hit my head, which was very high, the risk of hitting my head was very high at the level I was riding and continuing to ride and progress. Had I hit my head not knowing what was going on with the 5th tumor, I already knew the other 4 tumors were in there, but they were quite small and posed no real challenge to risk or challenge to my health. But had I hit my head without knowing that I had this 5th one, or knowingly, but had I hit my head regardless, I don't know what would happen, but I would assume I would have been having a lot more symptoms and challenges, and I don't know if I'd be back to where I am today, doing so well physically and mentally and all those things. So what started out as an experiment became a trusting of my intuition, and it's led me to some amazing places. And I reflect back on my life, every time I ignored my intuition, problems happened. And every time I listened to it, limitless amounts of possibility and potential beyond what I could see started to reveal itself in my life, and it's brought me to so many amazing places. The next piece, I have so much more to say on all that, so I'm going to do another episode about why I took some time off the bike and why I have no real desire to ride as much as I want to. It's not worth it to me and my family. So I have a very in-depth idea for some content about that. But my next update is I reached out to 30 plus people in various aspects of business to interview them about their take on mindset, on health, on success, culture, performance, and what those words meant to them and their experiences with them over the last, I'd say 5 weeks or so now. So I have an idea to share those parts of those interviews. So stay tuned for parts of those conversations. I'm gonna put, I'm not gonna say what I'm gonna do with them, but look out for those, as well as 20 plus interviews, or conversations. I don't like to say interviews because the 30 plus interviews about mindset, business, success, culture, performance, and so on and so forth, they were legit interviews where I did chime in a little bit. But moving forward to the next piece is I have 20 plus conversations that I had on the podcast that I haven't put out yet during my 6-month hiatus. So I'm going to sprinkle in those 30 or so interviews mixed in with the podcast episodes throughout the next upcoming months, I'd say, because that's like 50 pieces of content right there to share with you guys. So look out for that. It's something that I'm experimenting and being challenged to do with, or from a good friend of mine, Jake, he's such a, I'm gonna have to get him on here soon too, to just get you guys exposed to who he is, the work he does, what he's all about, and the passion behind him, and his heart and willingness to help other people. But what he is helping me with, it's just been tremendous. And he's who challenged me to do that, to reach out to people that I didn't know and knew, to ask them to get their insights on those words and those definitions to them. And I'll be sharing more about why we're working on that and what's to come from it. And it actually leads to my next update, which is a glimpse of why I did all that and why he's helping me, or not why he's helping me, because he's helping me because he's a good friend. He believes in my vision and my mission to help people, but what the objective is with that. And just scratching the surface here is, I'm expanding my mindset, health, and performance coaching from one-on-one to more organizations and team dynamics, because I realized, and this is largely due to the original book, The Go-Giver, which is a series, but The Go-Giver, which became a series, it talks about a lot of different fundamental pieces of success and perspective shifts, but I think that's really important. But one of them that stood out the most was, and I'm paraphrasing, but I believe it was something like your net worth is determined by how many people you provide value to at scale, something like that. And so, again, don't quote me on that. That's my memory of paraphrasing. But it got me to thinking, and I was like, man, one-on-one coaching is great because every person I reach, they indirectly come in contact with other people, and they're going to create a ripple effect. But at the same time, I could be doing more. And that's my mindset has always been like, what's next? Like, how can I level up? How can I optimize my personal life, my professional life, my health, my spirituality, my education, my creativity, my all these things. And it came back to my business is set up on purpose and passion to help other people create success based on how they define it and what they want in their lives, but how to optimize their efforts and their efficiency and effectiveness on realizing their goals, their dreams, like I've been able to with the hard learnings I've gone through. So when I considered the lesson that I took away from the Go-Giver book, I was like, man, one-on-one coaching is great. I'm having a ripple effect, but I could be doing more. I could be doing better. And that was my own personal judgment of myself. And so it wasn't right or wrong to me. It was just like, I could be doing more. I have more potential in me, which is something that I've shared quite often, or I share quite often. Of what I learned with the first brain tumor diagnosis, there was more inside of me that I wasn't aware of until I was pushed to that boundary. And now I continue to progress. That's my mindset. It's like, how can I move forward? How can I move the needle even further? And so I was like, man, like I have an opportunity to work with groups, with organizations of team members, and be able to spread my message and my knowledge and expertise, and really helping empower people to go beyond their circumstances to achieve the outcomes that they want and to overcome their struggles or challenges or obstacles. And I see that as a larger ability to create a larger web of ripple effects, if you will, rather than working one-on-one, which creates a good amount. But if I work with like 10 people, let's say in one time, 10 people, they share something with 1 or 2 people each, you can see how it just expands. And so that's what Jake's been helping me out a lot with many other people that have been providing me the time to get the feedback, and then, giving me other feedback and so on. There's so many people that I thanked on LinkedIn, and I continue to thank, and it's just a beautiful thing. But beyond that, quick update on speaking. I've been doing a couple virtual talks. I got a couple coming up in later this month. I have got a potential for an in-person. I don't know the quite environment, but it could be on stage or it could just be, in person, whatever it is. But speaking is starting to pick up again, which is something that I kind of fell into. Wasn't really pursuing. I wasn't pursuing it at all. It was an opportunity that came to me, and I was very scared to go through it because I was like, "Who am I to get on stage and speak?" I have no experience speaking other than like interviews and content that I've created in BMX. And, at the time we had the podcast going for a little bit, but I was like, I'm not a professional speaker, but like, it wasn't about that. People wanted to hear my perspective on my story, my experiences, and what I've learned. And that's what I've understood is, I think it was Dave Asprey told me this in 2016 or 17 when I was on stage with him, recording a live in front of an audience podcast with him for his Bulletproof Radio podcast. And he was like, man, like, when people feel fear, when public speaking, this example, when people feel fear, I find it's because they're focused on themselves. They're not focused on the intention or the purpose of why they're being asked to speak or present or whatever it is. And it clicked for me right then and there. I was like, I was making it about me. Every time I was afraid to speak or to take an opportunity, I was making it about myself rather than the ability and the possibility to help other people. And so moving forward, what I believe is courage isn't defined by the absence of fear. It's defined in my mind by acknowledging fear and pushing forward because the purpose is so clear to you. So with speaking, it fell into my lap and I was afraid at first, but I remembered my purpose behind it, the intention of why that person's asking me to present or to just talk at their event or whatever it may be. It's about other people. And that's how I live my life. It's, for so long I was focused on myself and becoming the best version of myself and realizing my dreams and accomplishing my goals. And in pursuit of doing that and learning how to become the best version of myself, I've discovered my higher purpose, which is what allowed me to walk away from my dream in BMX that I was living on my own terms to pursue this new passion, this new purpose in my life that was about serving other people. And it's beyond me. That's what I was learning with all these experiences I've gone through and with my health and other challenges in my life. It was to help other people. So when it comes to speaking, the fear I was being presented with was because I was focused on myself, not the purpose in which I was being asked to speak and the value I had to share with other people. So I'm super grateful for that first opportunity that came to me back in April of 2018. And now I've been speaking for, 4 or 5 years, I think. Yeah, 4 years or so now, this past month, 4 years. And it's something I pursue now. I love getting on stage. It's another way for me to perform. I see it as something that's, in exchange for performing on my bike. It's like I'm performing on stage. Coaching, I'm performing, I'm helping people my own way, but speaking as well. It's me getting my energy and my physical self involved, moving around stage and talking to people, connecting with people and providing the value behind my purpose of being there. And it's something that's a beautiful experience to have gone through. And I encourage other people to do the same, whether it's on a podcast, it's on a stage, it's virtual like this, it's whatever. It's we all have a story, we all have truth, we all have value in our own way. And the more we can focus on the purpose behind sharing it and what other people are going through, at the end of the day, for me, that's the difference of me getting on stage or not and overcoming that fear and acknowledging the fear is still there, but the vision, the purpose is going to outweigh that fear. And it always does for me. And the value that we all possess that someone else is being robbed essentially with us not showing up. That's what helped me get through it. And so the next update I have, there's 2 more that I want to leave this off with. And, I mentioned this earlier, but, I really want to highlight this again. I've been able to witness Jackie grow her photography and contract style athletic training businesses. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch her make a hard decision to leave a comfort salary-based position as a licensed athletic trainer at a private high school in Durham, North Carolina. Amazing opportunity, amazing team there and staff and all the students and everything, the athletes. But she felt compelled to do something bigger that she was drawn to more ultimately. And she found a way to merge both of those by being an entrepreneur, by designing her own business. And it wasn't easy. Again, I witnessed a lot of it. I was there to support her in every which way possible. Being in a committed long-term relationship, and I don't even like the word long-term, like we're committed to a forever relationship. It's something I never thought I would come across and find. Past relationships where I thought I had that, it wasn't like what I feel with Jackie today of this belief that we're meant to be and we're working on it every day as becoming the best version of ourselves to better strengthen our relationship. And because those intentions we have and how we connect emotionally, intellectually, physically, and spiritually, I was able to support her in all those ways of her, going through the ups and the downs and the struggles and the roadblocks and challenges to create this vision for her life that she's still obviously going to be continuing to work on. But it's been a beautiful experience to have gone through that in my own sense and to be able to support her and witness her growth through it all. And she's already been so successful with, pursuing this route. And I know it's going to be even more successful as it continues to grow. And we're creating a beautiful life together. And it's just, I don't know, I have so much love and gratitude for her coming into my life. And you guys know our story. And if you haven't, go back and listen to the first episode of this podcast. I think it's what we started off with. But yeah, it's been a beautiful thing. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so happy for her and what's to come. And the last piece, with all that being said, the last update I want to share is with all that said about her and I's relationship and just Jackie's character and her being like my best friend and my rock in life and all different aspects, I am very happy that I didn't scare her away while my brain got back to what we could call normal for me, even though I'm, a little crazy, I guess, in certain ways. I think we all are. But I didn't scare her away while being on the steroids post-surgery, which, for those that know me or have listened to some podcasts where I talk about caffeine and ADHD and all that, caffeine doesn't make me get all jittery and hyperactive. It actually brings my brain to baseline. My basic understanding of what Dr. Amen explained to me about ADHD and the prefrontal cortex, opposed to what people think of it being over-energized or overstimulated, it's actually understimulated. It's underperforming. So stimulants like caffeine actually brings it up to baseline. And so when I was on the steroids, a week or 2 weeks into it, I finally started drinking coffee again, caffeinated. I had maybe a half a cup or something. And wow, did I feel and experience the effects of caffeine. And I was already just speaking really fast, quick like this. I had all these thoughts and all the blah, blah, blah. And I was just like a million miles an hour. And then caffeine just took me to another level to where I was like getting anxiety. Like I was like freaking out and very emotionally unstable, like steroids, like if the kind I was on, if anyone's been on them, I forget the exact word for them, but, it's like being on a roller coaster of your emotions. And like I was crying one minute, I was laughing the next, I was freaking out the next. And when I got that cup of coffee, I was just like, whoa, this is what it feels like for people that say caffeine makes them wired, because I am nonstop and I'm ready to go. Very thankful that she put up with all those nights of me up at 3, 4 a.m. just with a flashlight reading a book. And then I noticed she's awake. Hey, you awake? I got this idea I want to share. Like, just because at that time, I think I shared this in some other podcasts about the post-surgery updates, but those steroids made me sleep, or prevented me from sleeping more than 1 to 3 hours. And I was very productive during that time. I read a lot of books really quickly. I retained the information, which was crazy. My brain was so connected. I wrote a ton. Every day I was just writing my thoughts out and reading, and then that would lead me to thinking more and sharing those thoughts. So to summarize, the last update is I'm very, very thankful. And it's funny saying this because I knew she wouldn't, but it's just very thankful I didn't scare her away while my brain was on like what I didn't even expect or didn't think was possible was overdrive. So, and I mentioned this earlier, I got 20 or so episodes that I haven't posted from last year, but I'll be getting those out. I don't know. I don't have like a time frame. Before I stopped, I was posting 1 or 2 a week. And so I want to keep that consistent schedule to, not be overwhelming, but not leave this lack like I did this last 6 months. But I got plenty of content to work through. So be on the lookout for that. I got conversations with Roland, my buddy Mark Metry, Jimmy Ferris, Dr. Perlmutter's son. There's so many names. There's so many names, and I'm super grateful for all of my guests. And I'm excited to share all those conversations, and there's a lot more to come. And I want to wrap it up here with just saying, it feels so good to be back. And on behalf of Jackie and I, we both appreciate all of the love, all the support that each and every one of you have shared with us along the way and support us along the way. The love, the support, the encouragement has been so helpful. And I know for Jackie and my family, to see the love and support that people that know me and know her from afar or personally or met us once or twice or whatever, it means a lot to my family. And that's one of the final words I want to share is, throughout this experience, my last 11 years, the first seizure I had, waking up in the ER and seeing Jackie come in, man, I just emotionally broke. I just fell apart, and just there's this overwhelming sense of being and feeling like a burden to those that care about me, that love me, my friends, my family, and Jackie, and to have put this on them. And it's easy for me going through it, and I don't wish people to go through what I've gone through, but I know because I've been doing it for so long and overcoming it, and I'm able to. So I would rather go through it than other people. But then on the other side, there's the effect of the other people. And I had this deep sense of being a burden to everyone that knows me, cares about me, or loves me. And so I really appreciate the support that everyone's shown Jackie, shown myself. And it's been huge for us, moving forward in the most, productive manner, and feeling the love and support. So it's been a crazy last few years, and we're grateful to be able to continue creating a life together, be able to share with other people, to have conversations, and for all of you tuning in. So I'm going to wrap it up there. So if you guys have anything you're curious about, anything you want to hear more about, any questions you want to share, wherever you're watching this or listening to this, I guarantee there's a spot where you can leave those questions, those comments below if you want to share anything, and with that said too, we really love and appreciate it if you could rate this podcast, give it a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or something like that. Leave reviews. Those are always super helpful. Subscribe, and anything you can do to help us make this better and to share it with other people. Ultimately, our mission is to have these conversations. It's a Gray Matters podcast, so we're trying to be open, authentic. We know we're not going to always be correct, and that's our duty to one another in life and in our relationship, is to better ourselves, to learn. And so we want to make sure we get the feedback so we can move forward appropriately and learn to be on the right path to understanding one another, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a platform to understand one another, so that way we can create good faith, honest conversations to better understand ourselves and understand others, and create a reality that we really enjoy with the people we want to do cool things with and experience life with. So that's I'm gonna leave it there. I love all of you, appreciate all of you. All the love and support means the world to us, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.